Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another video interview for the World Real Estate Network. Today, I am going to be talking to Michelle Swann. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Morning. How are you?
Unbelievable.
Awesome.
Are you having a blast over there in beautiful McKinney, Texas?
I love it. It's 90 degrees and I won't complain.
Woohoo! That's exciting,
Right?
huh?
I know, right? Great
So,
day to show houses.
do what?
Great day to show houses.
It's kind of toasty though to show houses.
Well, but there's air conditioning. It's all good.
Oh yeah, they make air conditioning, don't they? I just heard about that. So Michelle, tell me what the market is like right now in McKinney, because the whole Dallas market's going crazy. Houses are on the market like a couple of hours before you get multiple full price offers. Tell me what it's like in McKinney right now.
Same. I just actually sold a property not too long ago, about two weeks ago, and it was 9 days on the market. So it's quick, and I had about 4 offers on that property. So yes,
Wow,
yes,
that's exciting.
I know.
What was the price range on that house?
That was 456.
And how many offers did you have?
About 4.
Whoa, were the sellers happy about that?
Absolutely. Very much so. Yes, it was an exciting time, definitely.
It's kind of crazy when you get those offers all at one time because you're trying to juggle paperwork and all that stuff. Was that the
Exactly.
case for you?
Yes, absolutely. And I actually had my sellers didn't actually go with the full price offer. They went with one that was about 4,000 because of the story.
Because of what?
Because of the story of the buyer.
The story.
Mm-hmm.
So your buyers wrote a letter to the seller?
Correct.
That's crazy. You hear about stuff like that.
Yep.
And I'm glad you brought that up because so many people think that just because you have a high offer or an above listing price that you're automatically going to win. That's not the case. There's many moving parts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes. My sellers were on an emotional level with the house, and they were moving out of the country. And when they saw this single mom write a letter about why she wanted this property, that to them spoke to them, and they felt like that was the reason they needed to go ahead and give her that house. To them, $3,000, $4,000 difference was not that big of a deal. So they wanted to go forward with the lower offer.
Do you think that's a good advice to give to buyers when they're making an offer on a house, is to write a letter to the seller in addition
Always.
to the offer?
Always. And I tell all my buyers to do that. Absolutely. I want to know why they're interested in that house and how that house is going to fit them. So absolutely.
How long was this letter?
Oh, I mean, less than a paragraph, like maybe 10 sentences.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
That is such a good idea. I love that.
It works great, and it really plays into the emotion of when a seller is selling their house that they, you know what, I've had my family in this house for the last 10 years, and now I want somebody else to have those experiences in my home as well. And they don't want just an investor, just somebody coming in. So,
and I bet it makes the whole process of the inspections, asking for repairs and all that stuff go smoother because now the buyer and seller kind of have a history together.
Absolutely.
Even though they ain't even closed.
Absolutely. I can't even tell you, Robert, and the funny thing is that they actually got together and showed her how to work everything in the house before they actually moved out.
See, I think that is very important. Every house that I've sold, I've taken the buyer and I tell her, hey, the buyer's agent's more than welcome. You don't want to come. And I take them through everything. I mean, when we sold our house in Flower Mound, I put them through what I called Robert's Pool School. And I showed them how to work the pool and how to clean the filters, and because that's a pain in the butt if you don't know how to do it.
Exactly. And to get kind of schooled from that seller is like invaluable because they just kind of come in and learn right on their own. And it's like getting an iPhone and going, well, I guess I'll figure it out. But it's always nice to have somebody show you the things from the very beginning. So yeah, It was nice. This buyer absolutely loved meeting the sellers and getting basically schooled on the whole house.
So since you picked McKinney as your preferred city, why did you pick McKinney over all the cities in the DFW area?
The growth. the school systems. The McKinney is going to grow and grow north so much, meeting up by Anna and going out east as well. There's so much growth in that city, and I love the just everything about it. The parks. There's so much great things in McKinney that I love. So it's home to me. So it makes me comfortable to work in an area that I'm familiar with.
So you know all the streets?
No. I will not even try to acknowledge that I know every street in McKinney, because it's quite a large city, and it's been ranked one of the top 2 or 3 cities in the nation. So as far as growth.
Well, the good thing is that you got in real estate with the GPS. I remember when I got in 2000, we were using those stupid Mapscopes.
Mapscopes, yeah.
Oh my God. And then you're driving around, you got your steering wheel with the book on the steering wheel, trying to drive while you're looking at the page.
And then you had to flip pages, and you had to fit 50 pages to get to the next page. I remember.
It was so frustrating.
I remember.
Okay, so given the choice between working with sellers or showing buyers, if somebody said, okay, you can only do one, you've got to quit the other one, either quit working with sellers or quit working with buyers and do the other one, which one would you pick?
I think that I would probably pick sellers, only because I enjoy so much the photography part and taking the pictures and working with that home to really market it and get it out there. Not that I don't love buyers, but I feel like working with buyers is, running around showing people houses, and it's sometimes going to be hard for them to make a decision. And so you can be working with a buyer for 6 months. And when it's a seller, if they want to sell their house, they want to sell it, and they want to sell it, and they want to get it done. And I'm there to work for them to get that happening.
I remember before I got in real estate, I knew pretty much nothing about real estate. And so when the idea of selling the house came up, I thought, I don't like this idea, because the realtor is just interested in, and I wasn't even talking to realtors. This was my crazy thinking, is that the realtors just want to sell it for less so they get their commission and go. But what I didn't realize is that the more you sell it for, the more the realtor makes in commissions.
Right.
So I guess my question is on this one. Looking at sellers out there, do you think that sellers are realistic right now on their price, or do you think they're going crazy because the Dallas market's going so crazy right now?
Probably the second. Probably the fact that I think that everybody wants as much as they can, which is, that's commonality. Everybody wants the most that they can get out of their house. But knowing that prices are going up and that people are buying high, they feel like they can get high. And when the high prices are super high, they're like, I want as much as my neighbor got. And they may not have the updates in the house to, quantify them to be able to get that price. So
what do you see as the biggest mistakes that sellers make when they're trying to determine how much to sell their house for?
What their neighbor sold their house for.
The stupid neighbor, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because whoever, this one's selling for this, and I think I should get that too, just doesn't always work. If you don't have the updates, you don't have the backyard, you don't have any, or the age of the home. Whatever it may be, there's going to be these factors. And like you said, there's so many different factors that can come into play that price that house. And if you don't have all those things come in play, you can't come up with the same price. So comps are comps, but still.
All right, I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I want to see how you would handle these scenarios. Okay. This is like a trick question.
Great.
Question. You told me not to ask you a trick question, but go on. Sorry.
Put me on the spot.
Okay, so I'm a seller, and I've got this house that I love. I love this house. All my kids grew up in this house. I've got pink walls, and I've got pink carpet. And I want to sell it as is. What's your advice for me?
If you are determined to sell it as is, I would first try to tell you that you should paint. And if the pink, if it's pink walls everywhere, then yes. But
every room is pink.
Every room is pink. Then I'm going to tell you that you probably have to lower your price, because the average buyer that comes in is not going to want to look at that and envision their furniture and their family in there. So it's bringing that seller to a realistic buyer and putting that seller in a buyer's mindset and making sure that they look in there and they walk in and see, is this what every person wants to look at? And can you get the price that you're asking for that average buyer?
What about the carpet? I got to replace the carpet too? No. I can keep my pink carpet?
Yep. We'll just give a carpet allowance.
The reason I ask you that is because I remember when me and my wife were looking at houses, this is before my real estate days, and I just got completely tired of looking at houses.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I said, look, narrow it down to 3. When you find the top 3, I'll go look at it. And so she found this one house, and it was in Louisville. Mm-hmm. And she said, I found the house that I think you're going to like. The problem is that all the rooms are pink. And I said, well, they make this stuff called paint. Yeah. We can paint the rooms before we move in.
Right.
Then I had another. Now I bring up this pink thing because it came up again later on as I was in real estate. And so the seller in Arlington had pink walls, pink carpet. Mm-hmm. And I told her, you've got to paint all these rooms. You got to get rid of the pink and you got to replace the carpet. She was not very happy.
Did she do it?
Well, I said, look, you got a choice. You can go with it as is, or we need to reduce the price about $10,000.
Right.
I said, how much is it going to cost you to paint? Figure about $100 a room. There's 13 rooms. That's $1,300 plus carpet. That's going to cost you another $2,000 or $3,000 to replace the carpet.
Right.
So if you spend $5,000, you're going to make a $5,000 profit. She ended up doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, perfect.
So here's my question. You have a seller now who says, I don't think I need a realtor. What makes you different than anybody else? Houses are going quick in McKinney. I can do this myself. I don't need you. What are you going to do different for me?
Well, if you're trying to do it yourself, you're not going to be able to do a lot of the paperwork. You could hire an attorney to do that. But negotiation is so key at this time frame. And if you feel like you are professional at negotiating, then that's where I feel like I can step in and do a better job, because negotiation is so important in this field. And as far as making me separate from most agents, I can tell you that my responsiveness is immediate and I am on the ball. I'm not lazy. I am right there when you need me to be there, whether it's texting or emailing, I get it done immediately. And all my clients know that. So they know that I am on the ball and that I will be there for them when they need it. So I definitely make that a priority.
And I think what also for sale by owners, I'm talking about it specifically.
Okay.
They also need to understand that you have an emotional attachment to this house.
Right.
So you're making negotiations based on emotions, not by logic.
Absolutely.
You can come in and step in with the logical side of this and look at it as a business decision, not an emotional decision.
Absolutely correct. Yes, absolutely.
And that's what brings you, and that's why we picked you to represent McKinney, because we know that you are great at negotiation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have any doubt in that. I mean, because when I sit down to talk to another agent and we're on the phone or we're emailing and we're going back and forth, I'm there for that client that I'm working for, whether it's a buyer or a seller, and I'm making sure that I'm getting the top dollar for that person because I know the situation that they're in. Because like you said, it's an emotional for either side. If it's a seller, it's emotional for getting rid of the house. It's a buyer because they really want to get a home for their family. I'm working with a man whose family is coming in town next month and he wants to get a house ASAP. And so I know that getting a house for him is super important. So go ahead.
Have you ever sold a house using FaceTime?
Showed many properties using FaceTime, but never actually they love it using FaceTime. But yes.
How was that experience for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's pivotal. I mean, think back in the day, we had to get a big video camera out and then send the videotape. Now you can just have people come into your open houses, which people do a lot. And they're like, hey, I want to, FaceTime my brother or my aunt or whoever and show them this property and see if they like it as much as I do. I'm like, yes, please do. Because they can be there with you and give you opinions at that same time. So I think
FaceTime is a great
thing. Absolutely.
We had a relocation buyer and they couldn't come in. And they said, I need you to send me, listings. And whenever we find a house, can you FaceTime us?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I took the old phone. I said, okay, here's the living room. There's the kitchen. And they made an offer based on FaceTime.
Wow.
Without even stepping in the house. Crazy.
I mean, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's somebody who definitely knows what they want and they're focused in on it. And if they find what they're looking for in that house, then they're going to go for it.
Do you think real estate is going to eventually go to that where people are buying houses through FaceTime without actually walking in the house? And I'm talking about specifically relocation people.
More so. Absolutely. Absolutely. But the thing is, a lot of, like, I did a relocation package and the client, the companies generally give them the money to fly here and the money to stay here. Right. So with that option, they usually, until that gets cut off, and then they can't come in here very often unless they're just super busy and can't. But most of the time, people do want to physically feel the house, because feeling it, when you walk in, the lighting, just the way things feel when you walk in, you get a good vibe. People enjoy that part of buying the house. When they walk in, if it's kind of dark, even though they can still see the rooms on the camera, if it's dark and dreary, they don't want that. They want that welcoming feeling when they walk into a house. So
do you do open houses on your listings?
Yes.
How do those work out for you?
Good. I actually enjoy that, because I really feel like I'm sharing something of mine rather than doing somebody else's open house. I mean, I love that as well, because I love having relationships with people and talking to people throughout the open house, but even more so on my open house, because then I can really give them all the details that I know that they're looking for or asking for, because I've got all that information.
So if I look for an open house that you're doing, I can count that there's going to be food there too?
Yes, snacks every time.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
I think I'm going to stalk all of your open houses.
I have it. I have it.
Show up and say, hey, Michelle, I need something to eat. What do you got?
I have Oreos, I have popcorn, I have chips, and then I have bottled water.
Can you do oatmeal cranberry cookies?
Nobody wants cookies. Those fresh baked cookies. Nobody wants those. We don't.
I want those.
Okay. Next time you show up at my open house, I'll get it for you. Done.
Okay, so here's another question for you, and I'm going to talk about realtors
Okay.
because this is what I've seen. A lot of realtors, of course, have different personalities. How do you deal with the realtor who is obnoxious, who's the buyer's agent, and you're the listing agent? How do you deal with because there are some that are out there. Mm-hmm. And you've got realtors with blue hair that have been in the business for 8,000 years, and they wonder if they have a pulse. Mm-hmm. They're not up to date on the new rules in real estate, which are going on every single year.
Yeah, constantly, yeah.
So how do you deal with those two different type of realtors? Blue-haired realtors, and you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I have one now, yes. I'm dealing with one right now. Uh-huh.
Or obnoxious realtors who know everything. How do you deal with those two people?
Well, two totally different personalities, but if you follow the DISC profile, like personality profile, you really kind of have to know and assess that person when they walk in the door and kind of compliment them and match them in that sense. So if they're going to be real aggressive on you, it doesn't help you to turn around and be soft as a kitten back to that person. It's almost like you have to match that in a sense where if they say, I need this done by this date, I will absolutely be on top of that. Sorry, dogs. I will absolutely be on top of that and be there for them when they need those things. So that demanding person is going to be the one I'm going to be working best with, because that's kind of the way I work.
Right.
If it's like somebody that's like blue haired and not really good on the paperwork and all that, then it's going to be me kind of pushing that along. And that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. Somebody who's not responsive in text, not responsive in paperwork. And I'm just trying to get all those balls rolling so that it all gets done. So I pick up the slack on those kind of people.
Okay, so let's throw a different scenario on. And you had no idea what questions I was going to ask.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Just to set the record straight, these were not rehearsed at all. You have no idea what I'm fixing to ask you next.
Nope.
You ready to turn red?
I know, right? I'm like, oh, gosh.
No, this will be an easy one. What about the for sale by owners? Do you deal with for sale by owners, and how do you deal with them?
I do deal with them. I think the best way to handle for sale by owners is, for me, is not a phone call. It's not a drop off of my listing presentation to try to convince that for sale by owner. For me, it's going to be a face to face, because I'm much better in a relationship, face to face, belly to belly. Let's talk and let me kind of show you what I can do for you. Because 87% of for sale by owners end up listing with a realtor anyway.
Right.
So let me get you to that point and show you how I can really get this house sold for more than you would because of my negotiations.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that business is going to change for you drastically in the next, say, 10 years?
I think the market definitely, since it's so up and down and shifting constantly, I think definitely it'll change and shift. It's hard to know. I mean, I don't think it's going to be back like it was 2008. I don't think that's going to be coming anytime soon. But I also feel like, with this constant shifting in the market, that we always have to be prepared, whether it's changing our marketing, changing how we get to people, and being available to people, because now it's so much more Facebook involved. And back in the day when it was just sending out a postcard, that doesn't work as well these days. It's now more about getting in front of people, and where people are is Facebook or the internet.
So last question, and
Okay.
I don't know whether you realize of that, but you were wondering how am I going to do this for 30 minutes? It's been 24 minutes.
24 minutes. Okay.
Woo, you talk a lot. Oh my God, that's a hell up.
See, I don't know. I can just talk and talk and talk. Good.
So you're obviously on Facebook. What other social media platforms are you using to get your name out there?
I mostly do a little bit of Twitter. I do some Instagramming as well, and then Facebook. Those are like the top three. Though there's Pinterest, and I have Pinterest. I don't usually use that as much. I probably should, because most of the time, if you're going to get a lead, it's going to be a woman, and anytime that I run a Facebook ad, it's about 80% women that are following up on the ads.
Right.
So you're going to have more women shoppers than you are men, especially online.
Right. So for people that want to contact you, this is going to be on YouTube, Facebook, many different social media. How do they contact you? Give us your name, telephone number, email address, website, every form of way other than pigeons flying over your house.
Okay.
that people can contact you.
Okay. So it's Michelle Swann, and then my phone number is 214-717-2272. And my email is swannsellsdallas@gmail, which is Swann, SWANN, sellsdallas@gmail. And then my website is www.michellehomesales.com.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're there to answer the phone 24 hours a day because you don't sleep. Sleeping is overrated.
It's right here. All times. At all times. Just call me, text me, and absolutely. And a lot of people are so afraid of calling. So people, lots of people will text, and I'm fine with that too. If you want to do some texting before we actually talk and meet, and get some comfortability, I'm great with that too. So. Okay,
I have one more question.
Yes.
When you're working with a buyer,
yes,
will you show houses to buyers without a pre-approval letter?
That's a good question. I do not really want to run my business like that, because I've had many of people that I've showed early on in my career where I showed somebody about 15 to 20 houses, and they said they had a pre-qual, but then in fact they had that credit. So it ended up. You gotta get burned one time, you'll never do it again. Yes. So at this point, no, I really make sure that somebody is qualified for actually buying a house. It's kind of like you have to have a ticket before you get on the ride. And if you don't have a ticket, there's no sense in standing in line. And that's basically what we're doing when we're shopping for houses. I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to have to go back to this recording, and that's going to be plagiarized by me from now on. Okay, that's all good. It's all good. That's my fee. I get to use one sentence of yours. And perfect. You got to have a ticket before you ride the ride. I'll send you a referral fee every time I. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, Michelle, well, thank you for taking time to talk to us. If y'all need to call the McKinney Realtor, yes, the dude. Reach out. Her. Absolutely. Michelle Home Sales. Yes.
Swann. Look for her on Facebook. She's got a picture with a black dress, which means now you can never change your profile picture because I just told people what you're
I
wearing.
know.
So
That's
you
what
think
it
of
is.
that, even when you're 80 years old, you can say, I'm gonna use that same picture.
Photoshop works great.
It really does. And you'll have to change your hair to blue when
Right.
you're 80.
A little bit older. Yes. A little bit more gray or something. Exactly.
All right, Michelle. Well, thank you very much. Y'all call Michelle. She's the dude. Do that, I
Do
guess.
that.
Do that?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I'll have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye now.